Hi, my name is Sissy, and I want to welcome you to my show, Getting Healthy with Sis. I am married to my hunky husband, Matt, and together we own a fitness and nutrition coaching studio in Lakeland, Florida called Restoration Fitness and Nutrition. We have 2 little boys, and I've been a nutrition coach for 5 years, helping countless people to revamp their lives and see amazing results implementing one healthy habit at a time. My passion is to help women just like me realize they don't have to be a victim to poor eating habits and poor health. Instead, through proper education and empowerment, they can take control of their health and live the healthiest and happiest life possible. As you tune into my show, I promise you're going to learn new things about your health. You're going to be inspired to take action towards your goals, and you're going to have a ton of fun along the way. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to today's episode. I cannot wait for you to dive in and get all the nitty gritty of everything that we're going to talk about today. On the podcast today, I have a special guest. His name is Dr. Scott Bush. He's a psychotherapist who I have actually spent time with personally, working through some trauma that I have been through in my life. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit on the show today. But I wanted to have him on because it has been a very common theme for me. We see it across the board as nutrition coaches in our business that we're helping people and we're trying to, hold them accountable and help them set healthy habits and educating them on these healthy habits and healthy food. But it's like they keep running into roadblocks, and it's like they're their own worst enemy. And they've got, anxiety and trauma that trips them up and can kind of leave them feeling defeated and like they're never going to be able to change when it comes to their health. They're never going to be able to lose the weight. They're always going to be like this. I'm always going to be overweight. I'm always going to fail. And those things are like very defeating, and maybe you have experienced them for yourself. So as I, have been thinking about this for some time, I have actually referred several clients through the years to see Dr. Bush. And it just hit me the other day, like, I want to have him come on the podcast and just share more about what he does and how he helps his clients, because he has actually helped many clients through issues that have to do with weight loss and different, bad habits around eating. And he helps them to get to the root of the issue and literally like rework their brains so that they can overcome these issues. And so I wanted to have him on just to bring education to you and to give you a new connection with maybe a new resource that maybe you need in your life. Maybe you're someone who has tried to get healthy and tried to lose weight unsuccessfully many times, and you feel like there's maybe different hangups that keep tripping you up, and maybe someone like Dr. Bush could really help you. He not only helps people with issues around weight loss and health, but he also is a sex therapist, and he helps people with depression and anxiety and uses really different, very cool modalities in his practice with helping people get at the root issue of their problem. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the episode today. We've got great notes in the show notes of how you can reach out to Dr. Bush if you need his help. So I can't wait to introduce him to you, and I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. Hello. Welcome to the Getting Healthy with Sis show. I am here today with a very, very special guest. If you know me at all, or you've followed our podcast or followed our journey at all, you might know where this friend of mine fits in. So this is Dr. Scott Bush. He is a licensed mental health counselor based in Orlando. And before I kind of give the mic to him and let him kind of talk about himself, and we'll start this interview off, I wanted to give you guys a little history. So if you've been following along with the podcast, back in October, I recorded some episodes about my personal journey with pregnancy loss. And Dr. Bush comes into my life in that journey. So after we lost our second baby, I knew that I had some work to do on my mental health. I had been through a lot of trauma and just frankly, I was traumatized. And I knew that if I was going to move forward and be a whole person and a healed person that I needed some help with my brain. And
Right.
so I'm trying to remember. I think I had some friends that had maybe, oh, yes, I had a friend that I had connected with you before. And I had some friends
Mhm.
that had used your services before. And so,
Yeah.
so that's when I knew like, hey, I need to reach out to them and to him. And I think that I'd had some friends that you had helped using EMDR. And
Right.
like, I think that that will really help me. So that's my connection point with Dr. Bush, and he really helped me through that trauma. But today I'm having him on the show. We're not going to be talking about pregnancy loss or anything like that. We're actually going to be talking about how he helps his clients in the area of what's going on inside of their brains as it relates to habits that they can't break. And we're specifically going to be talking about how have been able to help your patients and your clients with overcoming food addiction and all sorts of things like that. So that's a little short snippet of an introduction, but thank you
Perfect.
so much for being here today. It really means a lot that you would take time to come and visit with us today.
Well, I appreciate the invite very much, and thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Yes. Do you remember our time counseling together?
I certainly do. Absolutely.
I remember you telling me I remember you were like, you said something along the lines of like, you're a very good verbal processor. And I was like, my husband would probably say the same thing. Um, but anyway, so give us a little bit of your background, and I'll kind of lead into it with this. So when I first met Dr. Bush, this was something that really stood out to me from him. So he was formerly a pastor, and you were a pastor. Tell us a little bit about the church that you were a pastor of.
So I used to work at Kennedy Space Center, and then I also started a biker church. And
Okay.
so this biker church, small biker church, it had about 50 people. It had outlaw bikers, homeless people, drug addicts, alcoholics, and they needed help. And so they came to the biker church, and I found that I could only help them from a spiritual perspective. They needed a lot more help than spiritual help. So that led me to all of the different degrees that I got. I got my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. And it was basically so that I could help people at a much greater level. I recognized I was limited because I only had the religious Christian background part. They needed a lot
Right.
more. So
Right.
that's kind of where it all started. Me really wanting to help people.
Right, which I think is so interesting because as a Christian myself, I can identify with that of like I remember when I first met you, you were like I was telling these people like, why don't you just go pray more and like God can help you with your addictions, and they were like, I'm trying and it's not working, you know? And I think that even in my own personal life with the trauma that I went through with our losing our babies, my husband would always say to me, like, just trust God. Like, you have to trust God. And I'm like, I'm trying to. I do. But I am
Right.
also traumatized and I can't quite get over this hurdle. And so I think that, I think that people listening might really be able to identify with that, that sometimes in your life, you're like, I'm really trying hard on this. I'm trying with this bad habit, or I'm trying hard to kick smoking or overeating or alcohol. Like I'm trying, and there's something that is hanging me up. And so, from what I understand, that was really what led you into the work that you do today. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly the reason. It was allowing people to be free from things that they couldn't break on their own. They just needed the next level of help to be able to do that.
Right. Right. And there's no shame in that when it's like, I think my
Everybody
brain
needs
needs,
help.
yeah.
Everybody needs help. Things can get stuck in our emotional brain, traumas and such, and behaviors, and it, it's not easy to get it out of our brain. We have a spiritual mind, which can be renewed, but then you have your emotional mind with all this trauma in it. And so there's like a conflict. So we renew the emotional brain so the person can be the best version of them.
Right, right. So we're going to hit on that in just a second, but I want you to share with our audience today just kind of your background, your specialties. You can kind of give the broad picture, introduce yourself, but also share, you have some very specific work that you've done with weight loss clinics and with, people that are struggling with their weight and with their health. So I want to hear a little bit more about that as well.
Right, perfect. So this is not my first career. This is actually my fourth career.
Okay.
And I have a bachelor's in behavioral science, master's in mental health and marriage and family, and then my PhD is in human sexuality. So I'm a sexologist also. So I can help people in so many different areas of their life.
Okay.
Um, a few years ago, probably 10 years ago,
Let's pause there. I have a question. Tell
yes,
us, what is a sexologist? Explain that.
it is a professional, like you'd have an ophthalmologist. They focus specifically on like the eyes and vision. So a sexologist, we focus on sexual dysfunction, trauma, things in that area where people need help. They don't typically know where to go to. You can go
Right,
to your urologist and he may be able to help you, but I have
right.
urologists referring to me all of the time
Mhm.
because it is something that they don't quite
Sure,
aren't able to fix.
sure.
So I can fix things with males or females where they have different dysfunctions, traumas, non-orgasmic, things like that. And so that's all part of that one expertise that I have. Typically,
Okay.
people don't see me very long. The average person sees me for almost anything for about 6 sessions. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's a little bit more,
yeah,
sometimes it's a little bit less, but
yeah.
typically it's very brief because I'm looking for what's the root of the problem. I'm going to
Mm,
fix the root of the problem. The symptoms are important, but the symptoms are like fruit on the tree. So most
right.
therapies pick the fruit off the tree, but keep growing back. So people could be in like therapy forever. I find
Yeah,
the root. What's the root of the problem? And that's what I work on. And then the
right.
symptoms die. Fruit dies off the
That's
tree.
that's what happened with me. I think I might have seen you 4 to 6 times
Yeah.
and was like, I'm good. And there was good fruit in my life after that.
Yeah.
It truly did get down there and help on a deep root level. So you help people in a wide range of areas, but let's hone in. I mean, maybe I can have you back and we can talk about the sexology part. That's
Sure.
very interesting
Yeah.
topic. So if we're humans, we're sexual creatures. So that's a very fascinating topic there. But
Yes.
let's talk about the area and maybe introduce to us the different modalities that you use as a professional psychiatrist, excuse me, in your practice.
Yeah. Actually, I'm a psychotherapist.
Okay.
And so it's different PhD. My PhD is, or my doctorate is a PhD, not an MD.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there are several different types of therapy that I use. So one type of therapy is a typical talk therapy, which is more like psychoeducation. Some
Mhm.
people, they just don't know what they are supposed to be doing and they need like a coaching. We're helping them to develop the correct lifestyle. If someone has a lifestyle of eating bad foods and not exercising and not taking care of themselves and high stress, then they're going to have their body is going to reflect that.
Sure.
So they could be overweight, they could have other problems. So what we do is we help them with a new lifestyle. Fad diets don't work because however you lose the weight is how you have to keep it off. So when you change your lifestyle and now you're in the practice of eating healthy, I'm exercising, I'm doing self-care, I'm eating the right foods. When you have that lifestyle, there's a weight that goes with that lifestyle. Bad lifestyle, you got a high weight. A better
Right.
lifestyle,
Right.
you typically have a lower weight. And
Right.
so that is very important with being able to be healthy. You have to have the right lifestyle.
Sure. Yeah.
Years ago, I used to run 2 miles every day, and I weighed 180 pounds and extremely fit. I hurt my leg. I couldn't hurt my knee, couldn't run anymore. When I quit running, I ended up at 200 pounds. If I wanted to be at 180, I had to change that lifestyle back to running again. And
Right.
so we pick how we're going to look by what our lifestyle is.
Right. For sure. For sure. So you help you can meet with your clients and help them from like a coaching standpoint, but what are some of the other modalities that you use with your clients?
So the one that you experienced was a bilateral therapy. It's called EMDR. I used a modified version of that, something I developed on my own after running it, using it for so many years. And basically, it gets rid of trauma in the brain. So we could have disturbing events, even when we're children. That's where we end up. The trauma starts, and then we could get a lens. So let's say a person is young and they're in grade school, they get bullied. And so when they get bullied, that event can stick in the emotional brain, which is connected to the nervous system, and then it comes with a lens. So when we're born, we don't have any lenses on. We see everything the way God created us to see it. But then the bullying event happens. So
Okay.
that person could put on a lens of, I'm not good enough, I'm defective. So then they go through life with that worldview. So
Right.
then, whenever they feel like I'm not good enough, they could comfort themselves. Sometimes it's food, sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's something else because it makes them feel better. So, what we do is we find that trauma, we reprocess and desensitize it. Sometimes childhood events like 15, 20 minutes, they're done. And so
Right.
we look for all of those events, we reprocess and desensitize them, and basically it resets the person back to how they were created to be. What would it be like if I didn't experience that trauma? What would it be like if my house didn't burn down and I nearly died in that house? That's going to cause anxiety probably for the rest of the person's life. So we can reprocess and desensitize that event so that it's not a problem anymore. And they'll never be upset about it or cry about it again when we're done because we move it from the emotional brain, we desensitize it. Once it's not an emotional event anymore, the brain moves it to long term memory where it's just data. Data isn't charged with emotion, and so it resets the person. So
Right.
that is a very powerful therapy. It gets rid of anxiety, depression, PTSD. Really great for weight loss. I worked at the Florida Hospital Obesity Center. They started the center and they hired me. They said, "Hey, we want someone that can do the psych work for us." So I set up that program. Also worked for the Diabetes Institute at Florida Hospital South in Orlando. And what I found was a lot of people that were struggling with their weight had trauma. And this trauma was causing stress, was causing emotional eating, was causing anxiousness. And so they would comfort themselves in many different ways that weren't healthy. So basically, we would get rid of the trauma, and they typically started to lose weight much easier. Emotional eating would go away. They would just feel like normal for the first time, something that
Wow.
they may have not felt for years and years. And so that was one of the basic premises of helping them to lose weight. We also set them with a new lifestyle. And then they also saw like a physician for regular checkups. And it was a very successful program,
Right,
both at Florida Hospital Celebration and at the Diabetes Institute.
right.
So I was at those programs for about 3 years before I left the hospital and went into private practice.
Right. So, the reason that I wanted to have you on today is because, as a nutrition coach and a health coach for the past 5 to 6 years and owning our own gym, I mean, our mission is to help people kick the bad habits and create a new lifestyle that is sustainable. I loved what you said, like whatever mode you use to get the weight off, you have to maintain that mode to keep it off.
Yeah.
So like the other day, a client asked me, he said, "What do you think about the carnivore diet?" And I was like, well, I mean, there's good. I mean, there's some good research out there that it can help in different ways. But I said, but my question back to you is, do you want to do the carnivore diet for the rest of your life?
Yes.
Like, do you want to? Because if you feel like that's something that you would really enjoy and that you could sustain and do, then we could try it out if you
Right.
want your lifestyle to look like that. But if not, you might drop a ton of weight, but as soon as you start eating carbs and sugar and all this stuff back again, you're going to gain it all back. So
Yeah.
like what you said, these fad diets don't work. So that's what we are all about, is helping people create a lifestyle that they can sustain. Do you have big goals for your health, but you're unsure of where to start? And you feel like you need the guidance and expertise of a nutrition coach that can lead you down the path to success? Well, if that's you, I've got just the solution for you. I want to encourage you to go to my website, Restoration Fitness LKLD, and click the button that says Book a Free Intro. We will sit down with you, learn more about your goals, and pair you up with a perfect nutrition coach to give you the guidance, direction, and accountability that you need to reach your health goals and to obtain results that will last a lifetime. It's important to also mention that we do offer coaching both in person and virtually. So if you're not in the Lakeland, Florida area, no worries, we've got you covered. Again, I want you to go to my website, restorationfitnesslkld.com, and book your free intro today. So one of the things that I was picking up on that you were saying just a moment ago was the helping people with anxiety.
Right.
How when they resolve that, it's like everything can kind of calm down. Like, how have you seen that? I mean, because I think we all would say we exist in some levelings of anxiety, and actually in the coaching room, and when we do intros with people and people are coming to us and seeing if we can help them, it's very common to hear people say, I have a problem with stress eating, and I have a problem with emotional eating. And when I hear that as a nutrition coach, I am very limited actually to be able to help you with that because it's a deeper rooted thing. It's a
Yeah.
deeper thing. And that's really why I wanted to have you come on the show, because there's been so many times and people that I've coached through the years that I'm like, you need to get with Dr. Bush. Like, here, I'm going to send you his email. I'm going to give you his contact information. Contact him, because I can tell you what to eat, how to eat, why to eat it. I can help you create a plan. I can educate you on these healthy foods and what they're doing for your body. But a lot of people have a lot, like they might be faithful for 6 weeks, 12 weeks, and then it just starts this spiral thing where they're like, I'm just beating myself up. And I'm just like, how can I get you out of that? And so I really feel like you are a tool that can be in someone's toolbox. And like you said before, I really like to see my patients about 4 to 6 times. Like, I want to get
Yeah.
to the root and get them out of there. I want to get
Yeah.
them help. This is not supposed to be years and years of counseling.
Right.
So kind of talk to us about that, like how you see the lens of anxiety, because I think that we can all live with a level of anxiety that we just feel like it feels normal.
Right.
And we've got something agitating us in the back of our mind constantly. And even when I was going through and like getting my certification to become a nutrition coach, one of the things that was pointed out in that certification is that chewing is actually a way to relieve anxiety. Like people chew on their nails, they chew
Yeah.
gum.
Yeah. Right.
It's a way to help to calm the body down a
Yeah.
little bit.
It's self-soothing.
Yes. So talk to us a little bit about that and how maybe you've seen people get help with their anxiety and how it has helped them, these other issues in life, to dissipate.
Yes, certainly. So being anxious is a feeling just like being happy and sad. Sometimes it gets to the place where it becomes disturbing.
Mhm.
If someone has to go give a speech in front of a bunch of people, they're typically going to be anxious. But if they go give the speech and they freeze or they run off the stage, that's not normal. And so anxiety comes from a lens. We talked about the lens of self effectiveness. So anxiety comes from the lens of um, I feel powerless, I feel helpless, this is out of control, I'm not safe, I'm in danger, I'm going to die. So events that happen earlier in their life, that's where that lens comes on. There's a man that allows me to use his story. His name is Tommy. So he came to me, he was in his 20s. He had anxiety all of his life, wasn't extremely bad. He has to go into this building and it's got an elevator. And he's got to go way up to the top. He doesn't really want to go in the elevator. There's already a bunch of people going in the elevator, but I have to go to the top. So he goes in and the door closes and he's standing in front of the door. So the door closes, the button's pushed, and they go way up toward the top end of the building. The elevator stops and the door goes ding, but it doesn't open. Bang, he has a panic attack. I'm not going to be able to breathe. How are we going to get out of here? A few seconds later, the door opens. After that, he's not able to go in elevators. And then it migrated to airplanes and subways. And so he said, I got to fix this elevator problem. I got to go in elevators. So I told him the elevator is a problem. It probably isn't the problem. We go backwards in time and we find out that he's playing with his cousins. And his cousins say, Hey, Tommy, I bet you can't fit in that wooden crate. And so Tommy says, I'm little, I can fit in the crate. So he gets in the crate. I said, Well, what happened after you got in the crate? He said, They closed the lid and they sat on it. I said, Well, was that a fun game or was that like disturbing? He said, That was like very disturbing. So that was like a 10 out of a 10 disturbing. I said, Okay, imagine you're in the box and they're sitting on it. It's a 10 out of a 10. Tell me what words fit best with that picture, Tommy. Um, I'm not good enough. I'm defective. Something's wrong with me. It's my fault. I'm not safe. I'm in danger. I feel powerless. He said, Powerless. That's the one. I said, Okay. So when you were a kid, you could see everything normally. When that event happened, it gets stuck in your emotional brain, connects to your nervous system, and now you have this lens or worldview of I'm powerless. And then he tells me he goes in the school bus, but he can't ride in the back of the school bus and he can't ride by the windows. He has to sit in the front by the aisle. The reason is he doesn't want to feel powerless. He has to be able to get out. And so he's kind of managing that anxiety. And then what happens? The elevator event happens. It's a 10 out of a 10. He says, I felt powerless. So, in order to fix the elevator event, I fixed the age 5 event first. So, we reprocess and desensitize it 15, 20 minutes. Then we go get the elevator event. He's done very fast. He didn't have very many events, and the fear of the airplanes and the subways, they just went away. And so it's very easy to fix. But if you don't find the root of the problem, you're you're just picking fruit off. If I could have worked on that elevator event for a year, I wasn't gonna fix his anxiety. That's the
Yes.
key. You have to be able to find the root. I
Yeah.
just happen to have a gifting to be able to find the root.
Right. Right. So talk to us a little bit about, just give us like an even, not, no pun intended, but an elevator spiel of EMDR. Just tell us, if no one's ever heard of that,
Perfect.
what's happening.
So EMDR basically replicates REM sleep. So when we go to sleep, in REM sleep, stage 5, our eyes are moving back and forth underneath our eyelids. When our eyelids move on this side, it's triggering our analytical brain. When our eyes move on this side, it's triggering our emotional brain. So our brain is trying to get emotional resolution while we're sleeping. Unfortunately, our brain's a supercomputer and it's in sleep mode. So we're delusional. It can't fix much. It can fix, like, say, level one, two, three, four disturbance, minor disturbances. You get
Mhm.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it can't process it. So it gets stuck there, and we could have bad dreams about it. We could worry about things. And so what we do with the bilateral, I use pulsers. It feels like you have a cell phone in each hand, and they vibrate back and forth. When this one vibrates, lights up this side of the brain. This one vibrates, lights up this side of the brain. So the amygdala, emotional part of the brain, and the analytical brain are talking back and forth, but we're doing it while you're awake. And now your brain is a supercomputer and it will reprocess and desensitize anything that's ever happened to you. So basically, we're putting your brain in REM sleep. You are thinking through the disturbing event. Most of it's thinking therapy. So it's very fast and it's very private. And then every 30 seconds, I'm asking you what you notice. We run through the event twice first. Let's say it's a 10 out of a 10. After we run through it first, it's about a 5. We run through it a second time and it desensitizes more. So typically, when the trauma happens, it's in first person. We're right there. After we reprocess it, it's usually in third person. First person is in your emotional brain, third person is in long term memory. So we desensitize it, puts in long term memory. It's not charged with emotion. Boom. Whatever
Right.
that anxiety caused just dropped.
Right.
So each event, anxiety level just keeps dropping.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
So it's very
experienced,
holistic, very holistic.
yes. So, so cool. So if you're listening and you are, maybe some of this is triggering you and you're like, gosh, I've just been trying to bat down that anxiety and that stress and that agitation that's always there. Like maybe there is something deeper, in which we'd probably positively say there probably is something deeper, that
Yeah,
connecting with someone like Dr. Bush, you could get down there. I mean, imagine what that would feel like to feel free from that, and to feel free, like, man, I'm no longer a slave to these annoying habits of repeating the same cycles with my health, and
yeah,
repeating and binge eating and then beating myself up for it, and then binge eating and beating myself up for it. Like, what if I could solve this annoyance and disturbance that's conscious, continuously going on in my subconscious, calm it down, and then I'm okay.
yeah.
Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, it is pretty life changing when we
Right.
do the therapy.
Right. So EMDR is another modality that you use. One that I want to hit on a little bit more and have you debunk and explain to us is the hypnotherapy. So when I was a patient of yours, you kind of talked to me about that a little bit, and I was like, "Mm, am I gonna have like swirling eyes like Bugs Bunny?" Like, I don't know if my husband's gonna be okay with this. And you had a very informed way to talk to me about it, to help me kind of, I thought it was going to be some trance and, kind of thing,
Yeah,
but it was not like that at all. And so I want you to kind of talk to us a little bit about hypnotherapy and how you've seen that be a modality that you can use that helps people that are maybe chronically struggling with their weight and they can't figure out how to help themselves with it.
yeah, absolutely. Hypnotherapy is very powerful. We go into a hypnotic trance during the day and don't realize it.
Okay,
Let's say
tell.
you're driving down the road and you're driving down 95 or some other major highway, and you're just driving and driving and driving, and it's like, well, I just drove like 20 minutes. I don't remember anything. I'm like already at my exit. Did I
Right,
run over somebody? What happened?
right.
That is called a natural trance.
Okay.
Your conscious brain, very calm, very relaxed, very safe. So it's out daydreaming, and your subconscious is driving the car.
Right.
If a deer ran out in front of you, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Everything's waking up and you're like doing your best to manage that. But
Right.
so we can go into that type of trance like all the time. Sometimes when people pray, they go into a trance. They're praying, all of a sudden, wow, it was praying like 40 minutes and only felt like a couple minutes. Same thing. And
Right.
so basically, when we hypnotize somebody, we're putting them in a very relaxed state. So
Right.
this is professional hypnotherapy. This isn't stage hypnosis where they make you cluck like a chicken and things like that. This is like very professional. You're in a doctor's office. And so we basically um, are telling you imagine warmth and relaxation like flowing from your head down your eyes, all the muscles in your face are relaxed, relaxation going down your body. And so basically you are very relaxed and we're telling your body it's relaxed. It goes into a trance. You are not asleep. You can hear the door slam, you can hear a horn beep, you can hear everything that's going on. You just don't care because you're in this state of relaxation. When you're in that state of relaxation, the critical mind is can shut off. And so there's a doorway that opens to the subconscious called the critical factor. When that doorway opens up, we can talk to the subconscious brain. But we can only tell the subconscious brain what the conscious brain already agrees with. So you can't make someone do something in hypnosis that they wouldn't do otherwise. So a person wants to quit smoking. They've been trying to quit smoking forever and ever and ever, but for some reason they can't do it because when they go to quit, their conscious brain says, I quit. And their subconscious says, you always have a cigarette after dinner. Go have your cigarette now. And they go out and have a cigarette because of subconscious rules. So, conscious brain is relaxing, daydreaming. We tell the subconscious brain, you're not a smoker. You don't like to smoke. You breathe fresh air. And we change the subconscious to you're a non smoker. They come out of their trance. Conscious brain says, I'm a non smoker. Subconscious says, I'm a non smoker. And they're a non smoker.
Wow.
And they will go for years not smoking until one day they decide they're going to pick up a cigarette and have a cigarette. And they go, poof. Subconscious says, oh, you're a smoker now. But it is like the most
You
successful
can't
way.
override it. You
You,
can.
yeah, you can change your subconscious back. Why you'd want to, I don't know. It works super well with changing eating behaviors. I
Mhm.
had the most recent person came for weight loss. It was about 3 weeks ago. She left me a really great review. So she came, she'd been trying to lose weight forever. Nothing has ever worked. She was like beside herself. I can't do this. Someone sent her to me. She said, can you help me? I said, yes, I can help you. So basically, in that 1 hour session, I hypnotized her and I said, how do you want your life to be? I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. What do you want to stop eating? I want to stop eating this, 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 this. So basically, all of the things that she wanted me to suggest to her, I suggested to her when she was in this hypnotized state. Her subconscious took every one of them and she got out of that session. She felt like brand new. So I hear from her occasionally in the last 3 weeks. She is doing fantastic. She's at the gym. She's eating differently. She is doing so many things she's never been able to do ever in her life. Her diets usually last, her life change lasted like a day, and that was it. So this has been like a complete change for her. She just needed her subconscious changed to agree with her conscious brain. This is who I am. I have a healthy lifestyle. I exercise. I don't eat junk food. You can't give her sugar for anything now. She will
Wow.
not eat sugar. She don't want to eat sugar. I told her you don't like sugar. Now she doesn't like sugar.
That is so wild.
Yeah.
Listen, I bet people hearing this are going to be ringing your phone like nuts. Like, I need help with that.
Well, there was
That
there
is
was a,
so wild.
there was another guy who came to me and he said, I eat great during the day. But after 7 p.m., I go in and I eat all kind of junk food and sweets and stuff. He said, I don't want to eat after 7 o'clock. I said, I'm going to close the kitchen in your mind at 7 p.m. So I hypnotized him. Kitchens close at 7. The only thing you can get out of the kitchen is water. So we finish. He goes off a week later. He says, it works great. I go into the kitchen to get something. He said, I really don't want anything, but the only thing I'm able to get is water because we changed his
Wow.
subconscious to match his conscious. I don't want to eat anything after 7. So I made his subconscious
Right.
believe that this is the way we are now.
Right.
And
Right. And
so,
I mean, I remember when I was working with you, we did like a mini hypnosis session. Most of my help came through EMDR, but
yeah,
we did one time a little mini session. And for me, what I was believing in my subconscious mind that was very concrete and very true was that babies die.
yeah,
Like, even though I had had a baby and I knew like every single human on this earth was born from their mother.
right.
So obviously babies live. Like, my truth that I was believing was that they just die. They die.
Yeah,
And that was the thing that in that hypnosis session that I don't know if you remember that, but that we were
I
really
do.
focusing on was like, no, babies live. Like, let's
Yeah,
readjust the
yeah,
brain in that way. And so I think that's really cool, just to debunk that it's not some trickery. It's going down deep and helping to give your subconscious brain the truth that you
right.
are really desperately trying to walk in.
Yes, that's true. What hypnosis won't do, it will not get rid of major trauma.
Okay.
So we use the EMDR bilateral
Right.
therapy first to get rid of the trauma.
Right.
And then sometimes we finish it off with hypnosis to be able to change the subconscious.
Right.
And so hypnosis is very limited. It's great for changing behaviors and such and some belief systems. But if there's a bunch of trauma, it typically does not work with trauma. I've had a lot of people that went for hypnotherapy and they said it didn't work. We came here, we got rid of their trauma, and then we did hypnotherapy. It worked great. Um,
Right. Wow.
so hypnotherapy is like a band-aid, and EMDR is like deep surgery.
Right. So if someone's listening and they're wondering, would these types of therapies be good for me? Like uh, who can it help? Someone that's dealing with what? Tell me.
So most people have triggers in their life. Something ticks them off, they get angry, they throw things, something that makes them anxious. Those are typically things that happen earlier in their life that are stuck in their emotional brain. So
Mhm.
most people will benefit from EMDR because it allows us to be the best version of us.
Well,
People
I
that,
call it filter.
yeah, when you get rid of that filter, I'm not good enough. It's always my fault. I'm not safe.
Mhm.
Uh, the safety and the lack of control causes OCD. So we get rid of, we EMDR some of the things that cause the control. Then we do hypnosis for OCD. It's typically super effective. So it really is beneficial to anybody. They decide what do I want to change in my life.
Right.
If they really want to change something, hypnosis works well. If they say, hey, I just want to try hypnosis, see how it works for eating, it's not going to work because your conscious brain isn't set on I need to change. It says, maybe I want to change. So we do the subconscious and it says, yeah, maybe I want to change, but we don't change.
Mm.
So with hypnosis, they have to be determined. I want to quit eating. I want to exercise. And then when they have that determination, then we can really do something good with the subconscious.
Right. What about someone that maybe I've heard it said before that EMDR is really effective when you have like some like real instances of trauma, like where you can point back and say it was the being trapped in the box, or it
Yeah.
was the elevator, or the losing the baby, or whatever. What about someone that's like, I've in general just had a lot of unfortunate things and just a lot of trauma, and I'm dealing with a lot of high level depression and anxiety from feeling abandoned and feeling like, so there was never like this one instance. Do you feel like EMDR can help that type of person?
Yes, it will because they will be able to remember some things that happened. Because
Mm,
people aren't going to look at their life and say, yeah, I had a lot of trauma. Well, what happened? What happened in second grade? What happened in third grade? Well, I remember what happened in second grade. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the early events. As I kill the roots of the early events, it kills the power from the later events because the earlier events are like the roots and they feed the later events.
Right.
And so sometimes someone will come in and say, I had like 4 years of a terrible childhood. I give them the pulsars. I said, we're going to start thinking through the 4 years, whatever you can remember. And so we're doing a block of 4 years in 45 minutes, and it still works.
Wow. That's so cool. What about someone who, an example maybe of a person would be they've gone, they've had this cyclical thing in their life of I'm going to get healthy, I'm getting healthy, I'm doing it, and then bam, something trips them up and they go through the bottom slump of now I'm on the bottom part of the spiral, and then they wake up and they re-sign up and they're getting healthy, and then bam, like I've seen that in the coaching room through the years, just this cyclical thing. To a person that says, you know what, that's kind of like my story. I do really well and then something trips me up. How would you as a doctor view that person, and like what are you thinking is maybe going on at a deeper level there?
I'm looking for what's tripping you up. Is it the similar thing all the time?
Mm.
And then what is related to that thing that's tripping you up?
For
I do,
instance.
I do great all the time, but I don't get along with my mother really well. And every time I see my mother once a year, I have a failure and then I get off of my diet. Well, we got trauma going on with mother.
Mm.
So then we're going to fix that so that that's not the trigger that's leading them down the wrong road. There's a really good book to read. It's called Power of the Habit by Charles Duhigg, or Duhigg.
Okay.
And he talks about we have to form a habit and to break a habit is very similar. So we have a cue or a trigger,
Right.
and so that we smell a donut.
Mm-hmm.
That's our cue or a trigger.
Right.
So then we go to where the donut is, we grab the donut, we taste it, and that's our reward.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once we do that multiple times, that becomes like our status quo.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think it gets like stuck in our basal ganglia where it becomes like routine. Well,
Right.
got to break the old routine and we have to create new routines, new triggers, new routines, and a new reward. So rather than going after the donut, I'm going to exercise. And after I exercise, my reward is going to be I'm going to do something kind to myself. Maybe I'm going to have strawberries with Ready Whip on top, something completely different. The more we do that, that becomes our routine, and then we keep doing it. Um, Part of like a reward that I have this iWatch. And so when I wear my iWatch, then I go for a run with my dog. So my trigger was I got a dog that's 50 pounds overweight. She's supposed to be 175. She's 225. So I got to get my dog thinner. So I go out, I see my dog, and I'm like, oh, poor dog. So I go out and I've been running with my dog for 2 miles. The first day, she got about like one block and she's laying down. Uh, but my cue is I see the dog, and my routine is I'm going to go for a walk. The reward is she's probably taken off 25 pounds now, and so
Wow.
now I look how fast did I did my 2 minute run, and what was my heart rate, and so these are all like really good rewards. I'm seeing myself getting better, and
Right.
so when we have a Fitbit, Apple Watch, things like that, where we can monitor things, that's like, ooh, that's a good reward because I'm seeing success.
The reward thing, that is really cool. Have you heard of the book Atomic Habits?
I have. I haven't read that one, but I've heard of it.
It's really good. And he talks about that. It's James Clear. That's the author of that book. And that's a really great book of like how the brain works and how we can strategically adjust our life and create an environment that's going to lead to success for us with
Yeah.
whatever that we're trying to gain in our life. It's really
Yeah.
cool. So,
And that's like the psychoeducation part.
right,
But then
right,
if I can't do it and I get stuck, that's where I need the next level of help.
right. So someone that's listening that's maybe felt like, gosh, I I do see myself going through these cycles. I do feel like I drive my car and then I hit something and I back up and I try to do it again and I hit something. Like, would you say, yeah, like there's probably something a little deeper that we need to look?
Probably.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. So if there's someone that's listening that's like, gosh, I feel like I need this, or maybe they just even want to have like maybe chit chat with you or send you an email or something and say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. Do you think you could help me? How would someone get in touch with you in that way?
So there's two different ways. They can email me
Okay.
or they can text me.
Okay.
If they want to call and talk, I'll talk to them also.
Okay.
So,
Let's do your email because that might be an easier low entry way there. What is your email address?
so my email is info, and then the at sign, and then Dr. Bush spelled out DoctorBush.net.
Beautiful. So they could email you, hey, I heard the podcast with Sissy. This is what I've got going on. And then just throw that out there and you could let them know, yeah, this is definitely something we could tackle or
Yeah, give them some feedback on what they've told me. Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
for sure. And then if someone is listening and they are not in, say, Florida, how can you help someone that's not in the state of Florida?
So I can help them with psychoeducation and information. I'm not able to do psychotherapy across state lines because I'm only licensed in Florida.
Okay.
I find that many times people fly in from other states. A month ago, someone flew in from England. I had six
Wow.
hours with the lady, rewound all of her stuff. She left super happy. I booked
Wow.
another session. They're coming from the Midwest, and so they booked 3 hours on 2 different days. Made a vacation out of it, and so many people come to Florida for this therapy because it's very specialized. They don't teach this therapy in colleges or universities. And so it is really specialized. Not very many people do it.
Right. And you're located in Orlando. So like when I saw you, I just, I came. I drove about an hour and a half. And I think maybe there were a couple times we did like 3 hour sessions, but
Mhm.
sessions are about an hour and a half each, right?
They're typically an hour.
Okay.
Let's say if it takes 6 hours to rewind the person's trauma and such, we can do it once every week for 6 weeks. We could
Mhm.
do it one day, 6 hours. It just
Right.
takes X amount of time to do it.
Right.
So if
For
you're
sure.
traveling a long distance, you may want to do a couple hours. You
Right.
get the most for your time.
For sure. For sure. That's cool. And then the last thing that I want to hit on, this was just a cool testimony that you had shared with me. To finish this out today, tell us the story of the lady that you helped that I think she was in maybe a weight loss clinic and she had really high levels of cortisol. Do you remember the
Oh,
story? Tell us that
yes.
testimony really quick. That was
Yes,
really cool.
that was at the a Diabetes Institute, and so part of the program that we set up is I would go through and get a history and find out if they had traumas. And so the endocrinologist that I work with, he would do all of their blood work and all their testings, and she had super high cortisone. So she came to me and we reprocessed her junk. I call it her junk, her traumas. She went back a short time later and saw the endocrinologist, and her cortisol levels that were like super high are now in the normal range. And he's like, what did you do? What happened, ma'am? How did you get your cortisol levels down? And
Mhm.
she said, I did the trauma therapy with Dr. Bush, and it dropped her cortisol levels down, enables her to lose weight because when your body's making cortisol, you're not losing weight. It's like in a fight or flight, and it's making its own energy.
Yes.
We just allowed it to lower, and then she was able to lose weight a lot easier because she wasn't making her own energy anymore.
Wow. That's so, so cool. That's so, so awesome. So I am just so encouraged from hearing these stories, and I hope that everyone listening has been edified and encouraged as well. I want to encourage you, if you've been listening today and this is, you're like, oh, I'm intrigued. I want to know more. I want you to reach out to Dr. Bush. So we're going to have this in the show notes, different ways that you can reach out to him and connect with him. But remember, his email is info@ Dr. Bush, and the word doctor is written out, spelled out DOCTOR Bush.net. So you can send him an email, reach out. And again, if you're in the state of Florida or local to the Orlando, Tampa, Lakeland area, you can go see him in his office, but maybe you're a little further away. You could book some time to come in and maybe make a day or two out of it and get your stuff dealt with. So I am super encouraged from hearing all of these testimonies, and just thank you so much for taking time to come on. I know that this is going to help a lot of people. I really have a lot of faith that there's going to be people that are listening that are like, this is what I need.
Yeah.
I've been trying to go at this with my own strength and not having success. And I think I might need to slow down and revisit maybe some things that are kind of on the underbelly that I haven't dealt with. Um, and so I think that's just super cool how you're able to help people. So thanks for being on. Is there anything else you want to share before we finish up today?
Now, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me and allowing me to share this opportunity to help people get set free. And you are like a prime example of how well it worked for you and the changes that it made for you. And other people will get, I'm sure, very similar results. So I'm very grateful to be on this podcast with you, and it's time well spent. I love sharing about this topic.
Awesome. Well, we love hearing about it. So maybe we'll have you back in the months and years to come, and you can give us an episode on human sexuality. That might be an interesting topic to dive
Yeah,
into.
yeah, that'll be a highly listened to one.
Yes, for sure, for sure. All right. Well, that wraps up today's episode. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.